Hello and welcome to this first and very special Scotland Rugby News broadcast on YouTube, Facebook, X, everywhere, Gav. It's all over the place. That's part of the main reason that we are on the site in the first place. We want to go everywhere where anyone who loves rugby is, and we're certainly doing that now. Let's have a quick chat about what we're doing and who we are, because people might not know. I'm Jonny McFarlane. I'm the head of sport for NewsQuest Scotland, and as part of my role, I look after all the brands that we have here, and one of them is Scotland Rugby News. It's launched today, and it's a high-quality subscription-based rugby channel here on YouTube. It's also got a website, and something that we are very, very excited about, Gav. Now, listen, you are the editor of this site. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your background? Do you know anything about rugby?
I'd like to think so. So it started. I started first involvement with rugby was I started playing when I think was maybe 4 or 5 at my club Haddington, and have been there ever since. They've tried to get rid of me a few times, but I've hung about. Then, from a journalism point of view, I started my career at the East Lothian Courier 10 years ago now, and then spent 5 years there, was editor of Scrum magazine for a couple of years, and then I've done some freelance work for various titles, and most recently was up in Dundee as a business reporter before taking on this job exactly a month ago. And we've been hard at work behind the scenes to get the site up and running, but delighted that we are now, and on the eve of the Six Nations, no better time.
Absolutely. Now, we scrub out that courier spell out your CV because that's irrelevant, and I'm not sure about those guys over there, to be honest, Gav. Dubious characters at best. But let's swiftly move on and on to the future, which is rugby, Scotland Rugby News, what you're going to do at the website, what kind of coverage that you might have. You look a little bit worried by my description of those people as dubious. I think people might understand I'm joking. I certainly hope so. So in terms of Scotland Rugby News and what we're going to be doing over there, I think there's loads of excitement about the way you're going to approach it, because obviously it's 2024. It's time for some podcasts. It's time for some audio content and video content. It's time for some long reads and some tactical analysis, some data, and all those things. So what are you going to bring?
Yeah, that's absolutely it. I think it's time to freshen things up. We want to do things that are a bit new and a bit exciting in the rugby kind of sphere. So as you mentioned, tactics and really statistical analysis. We want to kind of drill down into that and look at, rather than looking at a match in terms of match reports, we'll be trying to do things a bit differently. And I'm delighted that we've got Sam Larner, kind of stats and analysis guru, who's on board, and Sam's taken a look at how Finn Russell plays, which is, it gives a kind of depth of insight to the tactics behind what Gregor Townsend and the Scotland team are maybe trying to do. In terms of
that's a fascinating piece going tomorrow, I think. Drilling right down into the detail of perhaps why Scotland have been a little bit guilty of becoming slightly one-dimensional in terms of their creative play going forward. But I suppose it's the kind of thing that Scotland Rugby News will be having that sets it apart from other brands. It's that kind of deep dive, the ability to drill into the detail. We're not worrying about filling a space in a paper. Ultimately, it's about the best that a piece can be and delivering the most insight. And someone like Sam, who's coming in, who's got a professional background in the game, and who's worked for various clubs, knows it inside out, can give you maybe the kind of insight and analysis that you wouldn't get elsewhere.
Yeah, that's it. It's almost like Sam's worked with a lot of clubs and a lot of players to help them develop, and it almost gives us that insight from a coaching and analysis point of view that I don't think you do get anywhere else. And that's really what we want to do, I suppose, is drill down on the detail. So while we will do all the latest news and bringing match coverage, we really want to get into the kind of nitty-gritty detail, and I don't think that is necessarily out there from a rugby point of view anywhere else in Scotland at the minute.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of that is investment, because it's been a period of about 10 or 15 years where rugby was once really, really well covered in terms of the Scottish media. There was a lot of guys who made it their beat, who made it their day-to-day. I think looking back at the Herald, obviously it's one of the brands that we look after. There was certainly two rugby full-time correspondents, and that's not been the case in recent years. And I know in other publications have been cutbacks as well on that. And listen, rugby is an important part of the fabric of Scottish society. It's an important sport, and people shouldn't be comparing it to other sports. At the end of the day, the passion and the drama of the Six Nations is something that captivates an entire nation. But, and I think this is important, Gavin, isn't it? It's not just that Scotland Rugby News is going to be looking at. In fact, outside of the Six Nations is the vast majority of the year. So what are you going to be doing to kind of cover what's going on in rugby outside of that tentpole period?
Yeah, it's a great point, because the Six Nations definitely attracts the most eyes, but it only runs for 7 weeks of the year. So it's really important for us that we drill into the same detail in covering the two professional clubs. So Edinburgh Rugby, Glasgow Warriors, who've both had great starts to the season, both going well in the URC, both into the last 16 of their respective European competitions. So we want to, drill down in the same way about how they play, and we want to look behind the scenes at the two clubs, the people behind the scenes, and really tell their stories, as well as telling the stories of the players on the pitch. But equally importantly, I think we'll have a really new and unique way of presenting our coverage of the grassroots game, which I think is ultimately is where everybody starts. And without it, there wouldn't be a Scotland national team or professional clubs. So it's really important to us that we get out there and speak to as many of these grassroots clubs, the people behind the scenes there, and tell the stories about how important they are in their communities as well.
Yeah, because there's a lot of great work that goes on there, isn't it? I mean, no rugby club is an island. Every single one is intrinsically part of their local community. In terms of the other contributors, you've mentioned Sam Larner, but I know there's a lot of work that's been going on, Gav, that you've been doing in terms of speaking to people. So first of all, I suppose I'd ask you a little bit about Glasgow and Edinburgh, because we've kind of mentioned them. We've got contributors that are going to come on week in, week out, talking about them from a fan point of view.
We do, yeah. So from Glasgow Warriors, we've got the Pen, who's going to come on, and we'll have regular fan insight from the Pen, who has been a regular at Scotstoun now for a number of years. If you follow his social media, you'll see pictures of him with many of the players. So I know he's involved. I think there's a Glasgow Warriors fan forum as well. So he'll give really good insight into the goings on and off the pitch at the club, which I think is really invaluable. And then from an Edinburgh Rugby point of view, Nicola Constantinou is going to be our Edinburgh Rugby columnist, and I think again she's involved with Edinburgh Rugby Supporters Club, and I think she's equally got great links with the club and the players, and so I'm really excited that we've managed to get both of them on board, and they'll give us great insight into both the professional clubs from a fan's point of view.
Yeah, and of course, it wouldn't be complete in terms of the coverage if it didn't also include some experience in there as well. So we've got the fan coverage, we've got the data and analysis, but you also want almost people who've been around the block, who know the game inside out for many years. Who's on board from that regard?
Yeah, delighted that we've managed to get Alistair Reid, ex-Times rugby reporter, on board. So Alistair's a really experienced head, and he's going to take a look down the archives at a few of the big games for us from yesteryear. So I think that's a really great addition for us. And then in terms of just adding a wee bit of insight from a playing point of view, I'm delighted that we've got Rory Lawson, ex-Scotland captain, who'll be writing a column for us during the Six Nations. I think that's a real vote of confidence from him and us, and he obviously sees the value in what we're trying to do. That I think he'll add real insight in terms of that high performance setup, and in terms of as an ex-Scotland captain, in terms of his own leadership experiences.
Yes, and I think anyone who's been on the website today will have obviously been on and seen the opening set of content. One of the most interesting pieces, I think, that undoubtedly that's on there is a piece that you've done yourself with Ben White, and I suppose, Gavin, we're talking about everyone else, but fundamentally, you're going to be a key writer in terms of what's going on there. You've also done another big interview with Gary Graham. So in terms of what you've got coming up, what kind of things will you be doing on a sort of week-to-week basis that anyone who's interested can look forward to?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it was great to speak to both Ben from the Scotland camp and to hear Gary's story told so honestly. People always talk about rugby needs characters and all sport needs characters, and Gary's certainly a character who, hopefully it comes across in the piece that he's kind of told his story, warts and all. And I think it's that type of coverage that I would like to be involved in, where we can really get into whether it's a player's interview or a long read feature. I've done another couple that are coming up on the site, and then it'll be a case of features and a bit of analysis, a bit of match reporting, of course, during the Six Nations, but not in the traditional sense. And then we'll also have these series of podcasts that we'll be involved in, and we'll cover the length, the breadth of the game.
Yeah, the plan is to have a couple of podcasts a week at least. Whatever's going on at the time, there will be a podcast. So if it's the Premiership that's on, there'll be a podcast. That if there's Glasgow and Edinburgh matches, they'll be focused on that. If it's the Scotland setup, then we'll switch into that as well. There'll be content for every single facet of rugby on its own individual channel here on YouTube. So if you like one and you're maybe not interested in the others, you can kind of absolutely deep dive into them. You don't have to necessarily follow every single thing, go through everything to find what you're looking for. There's also some great tactical stuff coming down, data stuff in terms of Kevin Miller. He's a bit of a find for us in terms of what he's already delivered today. A really, really terrific piece about almost like the Cardiff curse for Scotland, how bad it's been over the years, how difficult Scotland have found it to actually get any joy there compared to even somewhere like Paris. Traditionally, you'd have thought of as being perhaps the most challenging of all the Six Nations venues, but no, indeed it's not the case. It is actually Cardiff, and Scotland haven't won there since 2002, which perhaps tells you the scale of the challenge coming on Saturday. Kevin's perhaps better known as Top of the Moon on his blog and on Twitter, and he's certainly going to add another slightly different element to what we do.
Yeah, he certainly is. I think Kevin's a really good operator. I know he's a kind of go-to for. I know he's worked with Glasgow Warriors in the past, and a lot of his statistical stuff is a labour of love. And yeah, I'm delighted that he's joined us and he'll be working with us, because I think the stats that he produces, while they're great number crunchers, I think they offer real insight into, as you say, Jonny, for example, Scotland's curse in Cardiff. I actually read earlier that David Jenkins, who's the Wales captain this weekend, wasn't born the last time that Scotland won in Cardiff, which is a frightening stat.
You were just a mere sprog, young Gavin, but I was, I don't even want to tell you where I was at that point. But I was
no comment. Thanks.
I was of an age, put it that way. But let's not dig too deeply into that. So yeah, there's lots of fantastic content, guys, on there. I think the other thing that's worth saying is we've mentioned it's a subscription website, but the key thing here is that it's £1 for 6 months. So when you sign up, you put in your card details, they'll charge you £1. After the 6 month period, if you want to continue with it, it's $2.99. We think you will want to continue with it, but if you don't, you can cancel it. If you want to sign up for the whole year, you can do that for £12. It's obviously a very, very small amount. We know that times are tough for many people, but we've tried to keep it a reasonable rate. But we hope that that's really, really good value. And we think in terms of the investments we've made to make sure that the site is going to be absolutely packed full of content, you're going to definitely get your money's worth for that. So you can do that at www.scotlandrugbynews.com/subscribe. And there's another wee Brucey bonus in there for you as well, which is the potential to win 2 Calcutta Cup tickets. I think we've got 2 sets, Gav. So there'll be 4 people going to that game. I believe those tickets are like gold dust. If you wanted to scalp them on the streets of Edinburgh on the day, listen, what we don't know doesn't hurt us. I think they would be worth a few quid. I'm not encouraging that. I'm just saying they'll be worth a few quid. So if you sign up for that deal for £1, your name is in the hat. And listen, that's going to be some game, Gavin, isn't it? That's the one that, you know, if you're a casual rugby watcher, I think that's the most exciting game on the calendar, isn't it?
Yeah, everybody's got a Scotland-England memory from somewhere down, whether it's David Soul walking out in 1990, Duncan Hodge scoring the try that won the game in the pouring rain at Murrayfield in 2000. Those are, well, the Hodge one certainly sticks in my mind. I won't tell you what age I was in March 1990. And of course, the most recent ones, you know, Scotland have found a bit of a way to win against England in the last 5 years. That incredible game at Twickenham in 2019, and then the last couple of years they've managed to almost have a bit of a hold over England. So they're in a bit of a rebuild. It's obviously the one in the calendar that I think everybody, whether you're an absolute die-hard rugby fan or you kind of dip in and out of rugby coverage, that's the one that everybody will be watching. And as you say, those tickets will be like gold dust, sold out at Murrayfield. So it should be quite the occasion in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be fantastic. And we're going to get every single spit, throw, lineup, conversion, try. It's all going to be on this website, and it's going to be pretty fantastic. I'm really, really looking forward to see what the guys produce over the days, weeks, months, and years ahead, because we definitely feel that Scottish sport deserves to be front and centre in the national debate. The only way you can do that is by putting your money where your mouth is, hiring some journalists and showing that it can work. And that's what we're doing here with Scotland Rugby News. And we're really, really keen to deliver to you, the rugby fans out there, the kind of coverage that you deserve in 2024. Up to date, sharp, lots of video, lots and lots of really, really good in-depth stuff that you won't be able to get anywhere else. And of course, on top of all that, everyday news, that's going to be a big part of the site as well. We've got Mark McDougall, who's going to be taking care of Glasgow and Edinburgh on a week-to-week basis. He's going to be going to the press conferences, talking to players, talking to the coaches, and getting a sense of what's going on. So all the regular stuff that's part of the beat that keeps you ticking along in terms of what's happening, we're going to have as well. So it's not like we're just looking at the big picture all the time. There's going to be a lot of beat reporting involved as well. So I think all in all, it's going to be a fantastic package. And if you sign up for just £1, you can see the website tracking along there below me at the moment on our ticker. Get on there and sign up. Now, we're going to call it a day there, Gav. Thank you for joining me. This sort of introduction video. I'm sure they'll be seeing a lot more of you in the days to come, because you'll be on StreamYard going live. Well, tomorrow you'll be down in Wales, won't you? I think what time you up out your bed tomorrow while I'm sleeping?
Yeah. For 12 hours time, I'll be on the go. Flying down for some press conference before the game tomorrow, and then we'll be in and around the stadium on Saturday. So looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Loads to look forward to and loads of content to come. Right, Gav, well, we'll hopefully be talking about a Scotland win in the days ahead. It's lovely to be able to say that, it's like totally non-partisan, just come on, Scotland, it's the good part.
Nail our colours to the mast.
Yes, the good part of the national team. That is something definitely to look forward to. I think the whole of Scotland will be tuning in for that one anyway, when it kicks off. So until next time, guys, thank you for joining us. We are very excited to launch this, and we hope you really, really enjoy it. But this was just a short video to give you a sense of what we're all about, and hopefully that's come across. Hopefully you understand. If there's any questions, obviously hit us up below the video. We'll be happy to come back to you with any replies that are needed on there. Until next time, thank you for watching.